What's up guys, VitalSyntax here, and today we'll be taking an in-depth look at field of view, FOV, field of vision, whatever you want to call it. It's basically the same thing, and how it relates to video games, specifically to Battlefield 3. Right off the bat, I want to mention that your field of view setting might not translate perfectly between different games. Some games allow you to edit the vertical field of view, and others allow you to edit the horizontal field of view. And some of them allow you to edit both of them. Also, some of them will measure it in radians, some of them will measure it in degrees. So essentially you need to set your field of view on a game-by-game basis because you won't always have the same settings on different games, especially when you're switching between different engines. Throughout this video, I'm going to show you guys different field of view settings for Battlefield 3. I'll start out with the lowest setting, which is 60. I'll also show you guys 70, 80, and the highest setting, which is 90. You guys will see a title at the top of the screen whenever I switch between different field of views, so that way you know what field of view you guys are viewing in the video at all times. So by default, for Battlefield 3, the field of view setting is set to 70. Now you can obviously change this to anything you'd like. For example, you can change it up to 90, but every time you look down your sights or get into a vehicle, your field of view is set down to 70 once again until you stop looking down your sights or you get out of a vehicle. So even if you do change your settings to a different field of view, you're always kind of tied back to the 70 field of view, which is kind of the default for the game engine that Battlefield 3 runs off of, which is the Frostbite 2 engine. Now it seems like a lot of PC gamers gravitate towards 90 field of view by default. This is typically also the highest setting that most game engines support. Some obviously support higher field of view, but if you're somebody that uses a 90 field of view just because it's the highest number, or because you want to be more accurate, or you want to have a higher kill death ratio, well, I'll try and explain in this video that having the highest field of view isn't always the best option. And there's advantages to having a low field of view and advantages of having a high field of view. I think there's two main ways that people should choose their field of view setting, and the first one has to do with personal preference, which I'll talk more about in a bit. But the second one has to do with what is more accurate, what is more close to what you'd see in real life. So let's first discuss how you can calculate your field of view to make it as accurate as possible. And the way we're going to do this is imagine your monitor isn't a screen. Imagine it's a window and you can see outside and there's rolling hills and trees and grass and zombies. So to calculate the field of view that's most accurate to real life, all we have to use is a simple triangle calculator. And essentially what we do is we take the distance of your eyes to the monitor and then the size of your monitor. Now keep in mind, if you have a 24-inch monitor, for example, it's actually probably like a 23.6-inch monitor. And on top of that, that's the diagonal measurement. That's the corner-to-corner measurement. What we actually need is the horizontal measurement if you're looking for the horizontal field of view, or the vertical measurement of the monitor if you're looking for the vertical field of view. So I'll put a link in the description to a simple online calculator that allows you to type in the distance from your monitor that your eyes are located at, and also the size of your monitor. If you type in, say for example, 22, which might be the width of your monitor, and you sit, for example, 30 inches away from your monitor, then that's going to give you a field of view of about 70. So that's one way that you can calculate the field of view that's more accurate to real life. But that's just one way of going about it. You can also choose your field of view based off personal preference. So let's go over some of the advantages of using a lower field of view and also some of the advantages of using a higher field of view. So the basic advantage of using a lower field of view is that things are magnified. You're a little bit more zoomed in. You can see objects a little more easily, and this might allow you to detect enemy players, enemy vehicles, different objects around the map a little more easily than if you're using a high field of view, because whenever you have a high field of view, you're going to be zoomed out a bit. You're going to be a little bit less magnified, and objects are going to be smaller. Now, those objects do get bigger when you look down your sight or when you get a vehicle, and it defaults back to 70. But if you're playing in a 90 field of view, enemies are going to be a lot harder to detect if you're not looking down your sights than if you're using, for example, 60 or 70 field of view. Now, the advantage of using a higher field of view is that you have more peripheral vision. That means that you can see more to your left and more to your right. That way you might be able to detect an enemy that's kind of off to your side, whereas you wouldn't normally be able to see him if you had a lower field of view and your peripheral vision is minimized. So for me personally, I like to use a mix of both. I don't want to use the highest field of view because enemy targets might be incredibly small. on my screen. But at the same time, I don't want to use the lowest field of view because my viewing angles are going to be horrible and I won't be able to have very much peripheral vision. On top of that, it hurts my eyes and it puts strain on them because I'm not used to seeing, you know, an incredibly high field of view that's unrealistic and an incredibly low field of view that's unrealistic. So for me personally, the distance I sit from my monitor, the size of my monitor, I stick between 70 and 80 field of view. Another thing that I've noticed is for most YouTubers that are, you know, recording their gameplay, making content and uploading it to YouTube, it seems like everybody uses 90 field of view. And one of the reasons I think people do that is, number one, they don't really know what they're doing. But number two is it actually makes the gameplay look and feel faster. You can see, if you go back to the beginning of the video and you look at when I was playing at 60 field of view, I move slow, or at least it looks like I move slow, versus if I turn it up to 90 field of view, it looks like I'm speeding around. I'm going super quick, and I can use bunny hop in Battlefield 3 to go even faster. Now, unfortunately, that's actually an optical illusion. You're not moving quicker just because you have a higher field of view. That doesn't increase the soldier movement. Essentially, what you're doing is you're making a tighter tunnel of vision, and it makes it look like you're going quicker than you actually are. So essentially, to summarize this video, I'm not trying to tell people to use a certain field of view or a different field of view. There's advantages and disadvantages on both sides, and it also depends on, you know, your personal situation, how far away you sit from your monitor, what aspect ratio you use, what resolution you use, the size of your monitor. Those all come into play. So don't use the default field of view just because it's the default field of view, and don't use the highest field of view just because it's the highest field of view. And don't use, you know, a field of view your friend recommended because it's the, quote, best field of view. Choose one that's best for your current situation and for your gameplay experience. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you found it a little bit helpful. If you did, feel free to give me a like or favorite, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.